about the things I have learned, how I'm living my life as a parent, as an investor, and as a citizen. And then we'll have a panel and we'll take questions about anything you want to discuss. The first thing that I always try to tell people in the West, I try to explain to them about the rise of China, because it's going to be the most important thing in the 21st century. Most people in the West now know something's happening in China, but they're not quite sure completely what's happening. And in fact, most people in China are not fully aware of the full significance, historical significance of what's happening in China. But I want you to know that China is going to be the next great country in the world. The 19th century was the century of the UK. The 20th century was the century of the US. The 21st century is going to be the century of China and of Asia, led by China and Chinese-speaking nations. So you're all in the right place at the right time. Now, in China, I know they call themselves communists, but I will tell you, and many of you know, because many of you have investments in China, Chinese call themselves communists, but they're among the best capitalists in the world right now. In fact, I know people who will tell you that they are the best capitalists in the world as we speak here in 2012. In China, they save and invest over 35% of their income. In the United States, we save and invest 2 or 3% of our income. You know, in China, when they come to work, they don't say how many days holiday do I get. They say how many days can I come to work. They know how we live in the developed world, and I certainly consider Taiwan part of the developed world. They know what's going on, and they want to live that way too. China and the Chinese-speaking nations are the only nations in the world that I know that have had recurring periods of greatness. Great Britain was great once. Rome was great once. But China's been great 3 or 4 times. China's been a disaster 3 or 4 times in its history. But China's the only country that, after going down and declining for long periods of time, has turned around and risen back to greatness again. I don't know whether it's in your Chinese genes, in the language, or the philosophy, or what it is, but the Chinese have always been able to have long periods of disaster and then rise again. As you know, China was in great decline for 300 or 400 years, and then in 1978, Deng Xiaoping said, we have to try something new. He opened the structure in China, he opened it up and said, let's try something different, and he renewed entrepreneurship and capitalism to the Chinese mainland, and you know the rest of that story. China's been the most successful country in the world over the past 30 or 35 years. But this is not a flash in the pan. This is going to continue for a long time. There will certainly be setbacks along the way. I assure you there will be setbacks along the way. America became the greatest country in the 20th century, but in the 19th century, as we were rising, America had a horrible civil war. America had 15 depressions with a D. America had very few human rights. America had very little rule of law. America was a big mess. There were periodic massacres in the streets in the United States. As recently as 1907, the whole system in the U.S. collapsed. Bankrupt in Washington, bankrupt in New York, everybody was in trouble. But out of all those disasters came the most successful country in the 20th century. China's going to have many problems. I don't know what they are, when, why, or how. They're having a problem right now because they've had inflation. They've had a property bubble, which the Chinese government for 3 years has been rightly trying to solve and do something about. They're solving that problem, but they're solving it at the same time that their customers in the West and your customers in the West are having great problems going forward. This has affected China. This has affected many parts of the world, including Taiwan. It's not over yet. We're going to continue to have problems in the world economy for the next 2 or 3 years. I will come back to those in a few minutes. But in the meantime, I want you to know that while China is the next great country in the world, it also is not immune to problems and we'll have many problems which will affect all of us. But also tell you that when I'm in the West, I tell people that the single best advice that I can give them is to teach their children and their grandchildren Mandarin. I think Mandarin is going to be the most important most important language in the 21st.
这个问题特别问到这个缅甸哈，那大概在这一期的《今周刊》当中啊，我们看罗九史先生他非常看好缅甸。那他看好缅甸呢，其实我在3个月前啊，我也去看了缅甸。这个缅甸啊，我的初步的感受是，缅甸的房地产、土地啦、房地产非常的昂贵，它现在的价格几乎跟台湾没有差很多啊。所以我看到他们那个路边啊，他说有一个透天厝，他说这个价值4亿台币，哦，我一看吓死了哈，因为我后来在缅甸啊问了很多人，我说缅甸啊大概落后台湾30年以上，但是呢房地产为什么这么贵？问半天啊，我不得其门而入啊。后来终于有人告诉我，他说啊，缅甸军政府时代有3次政策呢，让这个货币啊突然之间呢变成币值。第一个阶段呢，他宣布这个5000块面额的货币啊变成0啊，很多有钱人都发疯了。隔几年之后呢，他又把那个500跟1000啊宣布作废。最后一次啊，30块以上啊，统统作废了。所以后来缅甸的有钱人啊，他只有一招，买地跟买房子，这个就是保值性的资产。另外一个我印象比较深刻，大概他的现在的公共建设啊，还是非常落后。我第一个晚上在谢多纳饭店吃晚餐啊，吃了5分钟，突然停电，我以为有人生日快乐啊，要关灯了哈。我等好久啊，灯都没有来哈。后来我才知道是停电，就那个餐啊，大概停8次。所以我想这个一个晚上啊，经常动不动就停电。那这个状况大概就是现在我大概对缅甸感觉上它未来非常有潜力，但是好像还有很多问题啊有待克服。那罗九时先生他大概去了2次缅甸，我想我们来听听他对未来缅甸的投资啊。他是说缅甸不是用中文的，否则的话他现在全家就搬到缅甸去了。我们听听罗九时先生的看法哈。
Well, I suggested to my wife that we move to Myanmar, but she wouldn't do it because they don't speak Chinese. So, but I am very optimistic about Myanmar. You're right about the property prices. They've skyrocketed here in the last year because there is very little property, and all of a sudden the foreigners are flocking in. I would not pay 300 million new Taiwan dollars or whatever it was for that property, but there will be opportunities going forward. You know, in 1962, Burma was the richest country in Asia, and they closed off, they threw the foreigners out, and 50 years later, Myanmar is the poorest country in Asia. Now, you remember what happened when China in 1978 said, we've got to change, we've got to open up. It led to huge opportunities. There were plenty of problems along the way, but China became a great success over the past 35 years. That's what's happening to Myanmar now. They're opening up after 50 years of decline. Myanmar has 60 or 70 million educated, disciplined people, cheap labor. Its neighbors are China, India, and Thailand. Huge natural resources. It used to be one of the major producers of rice in Asia. There are huge opportunities in Myanmar. I'm not going to Myanmar because I want my children to speak Chinese. But if some of you would like to go to Myanmar, I promise you, you're probably going to get very rich. Mr. Shui, you should go there and open a magazine. You know, you can open an agricultural magazine in Myanmar.
这个缅甸对全世界都友善，他对台湾非常不友善哦，所以你要知道这个是，我觉得机会很小。为什么？这个我看那个台商啊，在柬埔寨每个都会非常快乐，缅甸的台商啊，每个都愁眉苦脸哦，说明有志难伸啊。为什么缅甸对台湾非常敌视呢？缅甸当时啊，我们在那个滇缅边界啊，那个当时曾经占领过缅甸的领土，所以缅甸对全世界啊最敌视的国家呢，就是台湾。哦，所以这个也有一些困难。好，下一个我们要先请教我们看罗九时先来看中国了。我相信很多人对整个中国大陆到目前为止啊，这个调整 非常的关切哦。第一个就是说，中国在这10年之中啊，把这个薪资从300-400块人民币，现在到3-4千、5-6千的都出来了。因为不断的把薪资加上去之后呢，让中国开始它的过去的这种生产基地的角色呢，开始出现很大的改变。这个改变以后呢，它现在开始在调整结构，而这个结构看起来呢也非常困难。所以现在它的 GDP 的成长率呢，开始在往下了。所以今年原来保八失守之后呢，现在剩下7.6。那么这个经济成长下修之外呢，欧美的不景气呢，造成中国的出口开始受到很多影响。所以等一下我请胡院士啊来看看台湾，其实我们现在的出口呢，也受到大陆的这个衰退的影响啊，影响非常大。所以在这个中国的调整当中，刚才这个我们看罗九时先也提到这个，包括房地产的价格的高、通货膨胀的调整、产业结构的修正，那这一些问题啊，现在几乎都撞击在一起。所以我们怎么来看，在中国这一轮调整完之后呢，下一轮它如何重新脱颖而出？那么它将来要靠哪些产业能够在全世界竞争当中能够杀出重围？我们请教罗九时先生。
China has been trying to cool things off, as I said before, wisely. Things did get too hot, too inflationary, so I hope they continue. I would keep tight longer than China. I'm not Chinese. I don't vote there. I'm not a Chinese politician, so they can do what they want to. I would try to make things tighter still. Recessions and economic slowdowns are very natural. As I said to you before, America in the 19th century had 15 depressions with a D. When you have a depression, it's like a forest fire. You know, when you have a forest fire, it's terrible when the forest fire is going on, but it cleans out the underbrush, it cleans out the dead wood, and then the forest can grow even better afterwards. So I hope that China continues to slow down. I hope they continue to sort out some of the excesses in their economy so that they can continue to grow after the slowdown, and things will get better going forward. I fully expect problems in China in the next 100 years, but I also expect China to be the most important country in the next 100 years, despite slowdowns.
好，我们这个谢谢罗九时先呢，是顺便请教胡院士啊。现在其实中国经济在调整，台商在过去10年里面呢，我们投资中国占了非常大的比例，所以现在在中国的经济调整过程里面，台湾基本上我们受到非常大的压力哦。所以现在刚才这个我们副总也提到，这个台湾的景气对策讯号连续10个蓝灯了，然后呢，包括台湾的出口到这个月稍微有一点起色，但是未来整个台湾经济的未来的调整，未来这个路到底怎么来走？我们请听听胡院士的说法。
好，谢谢。台湾的这个经济有一个特殊的现象，就是我们相当的依赖 ICT， 我们的这个制造业有一半是 ICT， 那我们的出口有将近一半是 ICT， 那 ICT 的这个特性就是它的这个所得弹性很高，经济好的时候每一家都赚大钱，经济不好的时候就亏大。那么这一次呢，又碰到这个全球经济衰退，我们因为过度的依赖 ICT， 所以我们衰退的比较厉害。但是其次就是正好碰到中国经济转型，制造业以大陆作为这个制造工厂的利基消失了，有些台商被逼着转型往内陆移动。当他往内陆移动的时候，从台湾进口零组件的成本就越来越高，所以他就当地生产或当地采购，所以我们就是双重的这个损失。那么这也是造成我们经济特别这个遭殃。再下来就是政策上，就是在景气转坏的时候，正好天要下雨的时候，我们赶快上面开个洞，让雨下来哈。就是在经济开始转坏的时候，我们谈电价调涨，然后我们讲这个课征正所税。 这些呢，在一个景气很好的时候是没有关系，但是在景气趋缓的时候，增加了人民心理的压力，也刺成我们景气的快速的这个下滑。